Hey everyone, welcome. This is Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. This is Thursday, July the 11th, coming to you right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas, on all of our social media pages and on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. Hope you guys had a great day. It was a great day at the Rock Health and Wellness Center. We had some really cool stuff go on. Got to adjust some little people today. Adjusted a three week old today, little girl. You know, it's so cool when I get to adjust those little babies like that, especially when I've taken care of their moms during their pregnancy, because it is so amazing how those little babies know that they're in my office. It really is cute because they're so comfortable because they've been here since their whole beginning, right? So the mom starts getting adjusted when she first finds out she's pregnant, or before she finds out she's pregnant, and she gets adjusted the entire time, all the way through her pregnancy, and then she delivers, and then 3 weeks in, she brings the baby, and the mom and the baby come get adjusted, and it's like, wow. And it was cute. It was cute. That little one today, it was super cute when because she was so comfortable. She was just so chill. And the mom even made the comment. She's like, this isn't like her other doctor visits. And I was like, well, yeah, she knows this place. She just doesn't know it from this side. But she's heard my voice and she knows this place since the beginning of her creation. So such an awesome thing. Why would you adjust a 3-week-old baby? Well, because we're a subluxation-based functional neurology clinic, not a back pain clinic. So if you understand that, and you understand that the nervous system runs the body, and interference in the nervous system causes the body to malfunction, then you can say, oh, I get it. Like, I'm in a very tight, confined space, and all of a sudden they just pull me out by my head. And that's what happens during the birthing process a lot of times. Is we get that's the experience that those little babies get. There's a lot of trauma that can go on with that. And so we just to check them. We check their reflexes and make sure that their range of motion is working properly. And then we do some just real easy, gentle stretching. Real easy, gentle stretching that's going on with them to get them in the right place. So that happened today at the Rock Health and Wellness Center. It was quite awesome. Another thing that happened today at the Rock Health and Wellness Center was a conversation that I had, and I had 2 of these this week, and I just wanted to kind of bring it to everyone's attention because chiropractic is so misunderstood, especially. I don't want to mean that. I don't want to say this in some sort of arrogant way, or I'm not throwing any shade at the old day chiropractors by any means, because if it wouldn't have been for those guys, we wouldn't even have a profession today. So I do really appreciate all the chiropractors that have come before me. But chiropractic has evolved. Chiropractic has moved through time and evolved with the times of what we know about the body, how the body works, and some of the things that we do in the body. And so this is a modern day type of chiropractic experience. It's not your grandpa's chiropractic. And so I had 2 different conversations with established patients this week whose parents need care. Their parents are in their 70s. One of them's fixing to turn 80. That they need some care, and they come from a generation that completely misunderstands chiropractic. Like they don't understand at all what I do for a living. And that's part of the reason we do the show, is to try to share that with as many people as possible so that everyone understands what we do here at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and that what chiropractic wellness is all about, and what functional neurology is all about, and how it fits into this whole process. And so I had these 2 conversations this week about the care. Well, one of these particular patients, her dad has had like 7 or 8 back surgeries, has had rods in his spine, all kinds of challenging, very, very challenging situation, right? And and she said, well, he's been told that he should never um, participate in traditional chiropractic care. And I was like, well, who told him that? And she said, well, I'm sure one of his doctors told him that. And I said, well, it's it's really interesting to me how, and I said this the other night on the show, but it comes back around. So I thought I'd say it again. But in the state of Texas, we are a portal of entry doctors, meaning anybody can come in for any reason off the street. Anybody can walk into our office and seeking care. It's my responsibility. I have a legal, moral, ethical, state board responsibility, but mainly I have a legal responsibility of knowing whether or not that patient is a chiropractic patient or not. And if they're not, for example, it's not within my scope of practice to work on fractures. So if a patient was to come into my office and they have a broken leg, but they wanted to come to the chiropractor because they're just that cool, they just want to come to the chiropractor with a broken leg, it's my responsibility to let that patient know, number one, look, I can't adjust you. Like, I can't treat your broken leg. It's not within my scope. I'm not allowed to do that in the state of Texas. And plus, I wouldn't do it anyway because a chiropractic adjustment is not going to help your broken leg. I know that. And I'm trained to know that. And I'm trained pretty dang well in knowing that. So when I do not need, and the patient does not need another doctor to tell the patient whether or not that person should get adjusted or they shouldn't. I don't need them to do that. And I'm not trying to be arrogant, and I'm not trying to be braggish or whatever. I'm saying that I have a responsibility to know that. That's my job. That's my job is to make sure that I do my due diligence, I do my exam, I do all the things that I need to do so that I can determine whether or not that patient needs to get adjusted. Because I can promise you that doctor that said that person shouldn't come see me has absolutely no idea what we do in the office. So we had that conversation, and after we talked about it, she's like, what are the things, he's kind of slouching forward. And I'm like, okay, well, what is that? And that's frontal lobe, right? It's frontal lobe. And what can we do with him? And is he able to walk? And what are the things that we can do? And what might we do here in the office? There's a bunch of stuff that we can do in the office. We can use vibration on his feet. We can use the tuning fork on his hand. We can use vibration on his arm. We can use eye movements with him. We can use the laser glasses. We can use the green glasses and the iPads. We can use we can take him back to the Ultra G. I took her back to the Ultra G and I showed her our Ultra G treadmill, and we can put him in there. We can take up to 80% of his body weight off of him. We can get him on his feet and walking. Like, there's a lot of things that we can do for this patient. And she was like, wow, okay, that's great. And hopefully we'll get to see him. And the same thing was the other patient that I had the conversation with about her mom, and it was basically that same type of deal. And so part of this show's purpose is to share all the things that we do in the office so that you guys can know, hey, look, that there's a place for wellness right there. There's a place that, okay, like there's a lot. This guy's going to adjust an 80-year-old guy and a 3-week-old baby in the same day. And that's the truth. Like, I don't know how old the oldest person I adjusted today was. I don't remember if I have it. If I had it. Yeah, I think I adjusted an 80-year-old guy today. I sure did. I'm pretty sure he's 80. I think he's 84 years old. Is the oldest guy that I adjusted today. I know I had several 70-year-old patients, and the youngest one was 3 weeks old. And then we had a bunch of them that were in between those two age groups. And that you have to understand that we don't adjust a 3-week-old baby the same way that we adjusted we adjust a 25-year-old, athlete, or a 50-year-old, you know, um, construction worker, or an 84-year-old retired guy. We all those people need different types of care. They need different adjusting techniques. That one of the things that I'm so proud of, that when I was in chiropractic school, or so appreciative of, proud of is not the word. I'm so appreciative that at Parker College they taught us 9 different adjusting techniques. And so, and then since Parker College, I've spent the last 20 years learning other ways to adjust and talking to other chiropractors and working on other techniques such as AMIT and functional neurology and some of the things that we do in the office. And then saying, hey, you can take that activator, you can turn it on its edge, and you can use that on that meniscus or something like that. And it's like, wow, I didn't know that, and that works pretty good. So those are things. If you are wondering whether or not your parent could get care at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, all you got to do is schedule your parent for an examination to get them in the office. I'll tell them whether or not I can help them. And if it'll be straight up with them, it's like, look, I really can't help you. I tell people that sometime. Or I can say, here's the limitations that we have when we're trying to help you. We can help you with some of this, but we can't help you with all of it. And here's the level of your interest in being well has a lot to do with what we are allowed to do or what we can do in the office. So we can get into nutrition, we can get into exercise, we can get into sleep, we can get into adjustments, of course. We can get into all of those different aspects of your health, and we can do it in a way that's going to protect you and take care of you. I take care of lots of people that have rods in their spine, in their neck, plates and screws in their neck, rods in their spine. I take care of lots of people that have osteoporosis. I take care of lots of people who've had knee replacements and shoulder replacements and hip replacements, all that type of thing that we do in the office. And we take care of a lot of high-powered people that are functioning at a high level, that want to keep functioning at a high level. So you don't have to have some sort of negative thing there that takes you in that direction. So I just wanted to share that little bit of a housekeeping type stuff with you. One more sentence that I wanted to share with you, because I got some criticism today, and I think that's awesome. I appreciate it. I'm not scared of it. I grew up in kind of a rough, serious kind of house. It wasn't rough like abusive or anything, but it was dang serious. You got some criticism, pretty regular, but I also started athletics when the year before I was in kindergarten. I started playing baseball the year before I was in kindergarten. So I've been through lots of criticism. And one of the things about this show that is very, I'll tell you, it's difficult to do. This show is difficult to do. Number one, I'm doing it all by myself. I got Ken and Bob on the radio station that's keeping the radio part of it going. But other than that, I do the entire show by myself. That's challenging, and that's not smart. I'm not bragging about that. It's not really that intelligent, but we're working on it. Okay, and I'm not in that big a hurry to work on it. So I figure I got another 60, 70 years before I get it perfect. So number one, that's the case. Number two is we're doing it 5 nights a week. So that's a lot of information that's coming to people. Number three is that what I'm trying to do here mainly is talk to patients. Mainly, I'm trying to talk to you if you're someone who might not necessarily know a lot about health or physiology or neurology or biology or nutrition or any of those things, and in a way that maybe you can learn better. That's really what I'm trying to talk to. So, because the criticism I got was it didn't sound very authoritative. It was he's all over the place, and it was just kind of like, I'm not listening to that guy. And it's like, that's fair. That's fair enough criticism from the person that it came from. I totally understand that. Like, I'm not doing I'm not doing a Huberman type program where we're sitting in there talking about some things that are at a very high level of neuroscience or whatever that may be a little bit challenging, even though Huberman stuff is great for a lot of people. And I love it too, and I'm sure a lot of you love it as well. But when you're trying to do a show like this and you're trying to reach such a vast audience on the radio, that's another challenge, is it's on the radio and it's on social media. But if you're trying to do that and you're trying to reach a vast audience, I've been working for these last 10 months, getting close to 10 and a half months, to try to figure out exactly what level of education or experience, not level of education, what level of experience we should kind of have these conversations in. And so that's what we're trying to do. We can get as authoritative as we need to anytime along the way. And I think the experience, because I've had several people that's listened to the show that's come in and have been patients in the office, and they're very impressed with what we're doing here in the office. And so the show may not be at the level that you're used to, but understand that maybe a little bit of that is by design. Maybe a little bit of that is because of me. Okay, that's fine too. But just wanted to say that. Okay, let's get to picking up where we were last night. We were talking about, you guys watched the show last night. We said we would pick up right where we left off, and so I left this whole thing right here on the screen from last night. And you guys that are on the radio, if you want to go to Walk by Faith Facebook page and you want to watch the show on the Walk by Faith Facebook page, you can do that. Or we'll try to keep it we'll try to explain it well enough so that you can follow us. But what I was going through was this gentleman that we did a nutritional evaluation on, and I was having his report at his nutritional evaluation, and we were just walking through some of this stuff, and we were trying to talk about last night. We were trying to talk about parasympathetic and sympathetic activity. And which means we're trying to talk about the autonomic nervous system, the part of your nervous system that you don't control, that just happens. And if you guys want to watch, I watched today, and I didn't even know this was a thing, but man, I'm so excited to finish it. I can't wait to get home tonight so that I can finish it. But it's another conversation with Dr. Peterson and Dr. McKilchrist. And I think this is the third one that I have listened to. And it's wisdom, delusion, consciousness, and the divine. And it's been up for 3 months, and I didn't even know it was up there. It was on Dr. Peterson's page. Dr. McGilchrist is one of my favorites of all time. Dr. Peterson is too, as far as that goes. But Dr. McGilchrist is the master and his emissary guy. And if you guys are new to the show, man, I need to get back to the master and his emissary anyway. But he is the glue. He's the glue of 24 years in chiropractic for me that finally brought the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere into focus so that I could understand it and apply it. And I can understand it better, and I can now take it as a clinician. And it's not just these guys are breaking down really in-depth theories and thoughts. Dr. Peterson and Dr. McGilchrist are talking about very, very deep thoughts about the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere and how the whole thing works and how our brain works and all that sort of thing. It's a great conversation between those two. And if you guys want to listen to it, I just wanted to share it with you. You can find it on Dr. Peterson's page, Wisdom, Delusion, Consciousness, and the Divine. But what I want to say is that those guys, one of the things that I appreciate about the state that I'm in or the place that I'm in is that I'm in the clinic working on patients. Like I'm actually all day long working to try to get the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere to actually function properly in a person. And how does that affect their whole body? And what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you as a patient? And so if you want to go watch that, it's a fantastic YouTube video between Dr. Peterson and Dr. McGilchrist. But we're talking about the autonomic nervous system. But one of the sentences that Dr. McGilchrist says in this this conversation is he says that the new information is that it's 99.5. It's kind of funny how he said it too, because he's like, it's 99.4 something percent of your nervous system, your brain function is subconscious. I'd heard it in different levels. I've heard it at 95%. He's saying 99.4% of your brain is subconscious, is unknown to you. That the things that are going on, the things that are happening, that you are making decisions about, that you are that's causing the physiology in your body, all of those things are unknown to you, like 99.4. And then he laughed. He made a joke, which is really funny when you get somebody this smart that makes a joke, because it's just kind of, you have to really understand it to catch the joke, is what I'm saying. But he was just talking about, he said, now it's 99.4% of all of the things that go on are below our level of knowing, except they didn't understand how they got to 99.4%. I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, yeah, that was good. And he thought it was funny too. He laughed. He's like, I'm not real sure how they got to 99.4% if they didn't know all that. But anyway, that's an important stat for us. It's a super, super, super important stat for us. Let's take it in all of the different manners. Let's take it in these aspects that this gentleman was dealing with, that when we were trying to break down, okay, blood pressure. You got 2 blood pressure medications, right? We got anxiety and depression medication. We're going to see a cardiologist because we can't figure out why our blood pressure is so high. We've got a digestive problem with Nexium and an acid reflux issue. We got an asthma problem. We got decreased skeletal muscle mass and increased body fat mass that we got off of our in-body scan. You can take the anxiety depression one. 99% of nervous system function is below your level of knowing. That's causing you to have acid reflux. You don't understand why you're having acid reflux. You don't understand why you need a Nexium or a Tums or a Rolate. And it's like, yeah, there's there's a lot of stuff going on below, under the scene, right? There's a lot of stuff that's dealing with physical, chemical, and mental, emotional stresses. And one of the things that these guys talk about in there is the boundary between support and challenge. And it was so awesome to listen to them talk about that. And he was talking about, you can't make music from a violin unless you have pressure on the string from the bow. Like, you don't get the music without the pressure. You have to have friction along the string from the bow itself, from the hair or whatever they make the bow out of. Used to make it out of horsehair, I think, but the friction of the bow against the string is what actually makes the music. And we have such a tendency of wanting to get away from friction. We have such a tendency of wanting not to have any conflict or tension or uncomfortableness in our day. We can't really stand it if we're not comfortable. We can't really stand it if we have a fever for more than 4 or 5 hours before we think we need to go get something to get our fever to go down, right? And so that was a really great point. What I thought was so awesome in that point is that I heard that 20-something years ago from Dr. DeMartini. And that John DeMartini, we've had conversations about him on the show. He's the one that taught me about balance. He's the one that taught me about the sine wave and the magnet. And he taught me that 20 years ago, maybe 24 years ago. when I heard him say that for the first time. Some of these guys in chiropractic have been dealing with this concept of balance like for a very long time. And I was so appreciative when I listened to Dr. McGilchrist say that because he's talking about something that has been taught to me in chiropractic for 24 years. And I thought it was really, really cool that, hey, it's not just about support and it's not just about challenge. Too much support makes us fat and lazy. Too much challenge makes us resentful. We grow at the boundary of support and challenge. We make the music of life at the boundary of support and challenge with a little bit of friction. We need that friction in order for us to be what we're supposed to be. And we need that friction for our brain to function that way as well. Hey, we're up against a break. Let's take this break. We'll be right back right after these messages. And then we'll break down the rest of this stuff. So we'll be right back. Yeah, I couldn't even believe it. I found that I didn't even know that conversation was going on, and um, it's been on there for 3 months. I was like, crap. I was like, man, I wish I would have. I don't know how I missed it, but the timing of it works. But you get to listen to those two guys speak, and it's so awesome for me because now I'm taking those two thoughts and they're getting into some deep stuff between right and left hemisphere and what is actually happening in the right and left hemisphere and how does it work and then I'm taking that stuff and I'm saying, you know what, in the clinic with a patient, I'll tell you how it works. I'll tell you that patient is having sleepless nights because they're dealing with insomnia. That patient is having the inability to focus because they're having overactivity of the right hemisphere. Like one of the things I think he said it was. I'm almost certain that Dr. McKilker said today they felt like that the ADD and ADHD was a result of hypoactivity of the right hemisphere. Like it wasn't functioning enough, and so we don't have that focus on the left hemisphere. And you guys know that that's true. Like if you've been listening to the show for a very long period of time, you know it's like up and to the right, over to the left, up and to the right, over to the left, up and to the right, get it out of the right, and then over to the left. And how does it get over to the left? Well, it gets over to the left through the corpus callosum, which is such a vital part of communication between the two hemispheres. And what those guys said in the show, and since we're on the break, that's why I'm talking about it. But what they said in this conversation was that the majority of activity of the brain, the majority of the activity of each hemisphere is trying to just inhibit the other side. The left hemisphere is trying to inhibit the right hemisphere, and the right hemisphere is trying to inhibit the left hemisphere. So if you think about that, you think about 99.4% of the stuff is unknown to you, and the majority of that stuff is just trying to get the other one to calm down. We just want the nervous system to calm down a little bit. All right, we're going back live on the radio. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. This is 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio, 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. Tonight we're talking about a lot of things, but we're trying to finish up these thoughts on what we went through on our nutritional evaluation on this gentleman yesterday and explaining some of the things to him that, hey, listen, this is what's going on in your body and this is what's going on with your nervous system, and those two things match to me. One of the things I tried to make crystal clear to him was that none of your issues are a mystery. They completely match. Because what we found out yesterday, if you watch the show, and you can go back and watch the show, but what we found out yesterday was that the parasympathetic nervous system was starting over here. The parasympathetic nervous system was starting over here in this -2 quadrant. That means that this person is not resting and recovering, and we're losing the ability to communicate from the brain to the organ. And you can look this up. Is there parasympathetic degeneration in disease? Go to the NIH and look that up. Yeah, and what you're going to find out is yes, there is parasympathetic degeneration in chronic disease, in disease processes. The way we get sick is we get sick when we lose our ability to rest and recover. That's one of the things that happens. That's one of the reasons that we get sick. So we're losing parasympathetic activity. And you guys, if you're lost on that word, you don't know what parasympathetic means. That means the rest and recover part of your nervous system. So I would like to be able to have this conversation and just go ahead and talk about sympathetic and parasympathetic. And if you hear it enough times, maybe you understand it. The parasympathetic is when you're in a state that is known to you and there's no threat. There's no threat. Think about how you feel if you're in a very secure place where there's no threat. I can tell you the place that, for me, where that was, more than any place that I've ever been in my entire life, was on a football field when I was a senior in high school. And pretty much any time at college, but especially when I was a senior in high school, I tell you, that was the most comforting, safe place that I consciously think about. And I'm not talking about like my mom was holding me when I was a little kid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like I was so comfortable on that football field that I know my parasympathetic activity had to have been high. My heart rate was low. My blood pressure was low. My cognitive ability was high. Like I could see and think and understood all the rules. If you're in a place like that, if you're in a very calm, non-threatening, known place, describe to me how you feel about yourself. To describe to me how your body feels. How easy is it to sleep? How easy is it to digest your food? How easy is it to move your body when you're in those situations, right? Because you've got coordination and balance. You've got all of those. Your digestive tract is working. All of your core is working with you. Well, if you've lost that parasympathetic activity, what's happening is, whether you're in a safe, known environment or not, your body's physical ability to control that system is starting to go away. That it's degenerative. And I said it last night, but I really think I should say it again tonight. That where you maybe it would help to really understand this for a second. And I drew it down here. But the parasympathetic part, the brain, when it's trying to calm things down, it has some chemicals that it uses to calm things down. And it sends those chemicals through that nerve. And that nerve is going to end up at that organ. And that nerve is attached to the organ. It's snapped to it. It's glued onto it. It's hot glued. The string is hot glued onto the organ, and it penetrates it. That nerve actually comes in, and there's an attachment point of the nerve where the nerve connects to the heart or the lungs or the liver or whatever, the blood vessel, the intestine. There's actually a connection of that nerve that's coming out of the brain. There's a connection of that nerve that's going into the organ. And so you can imagine where the breakdowns be. Okay, well, which part of the brain makes the chemical. So maybe we've got degeneration in that part of the brain, like Parkinson's type of thing that goes on, right? Maybe we have an area of the brain that no longer has the capacity to make the chemical. That could be one way that it would break down. Then maybe we don't have the ability to get that chemical into that nerve for whatever reason. Maybe that chemical is not, that signal is not necessarily firing into that nerve. Maybe the nerve itself is kind of becoming frayed or clogged up or degenerative in some form or fashion. Maybe the myelin sheath that surrounds the nerve is being eaten away. Maybe there's some sort of plaquing that's building up in the nerve itself. Maybe there's adhesions of the nerve. Have you ever done any, like, if you've ever done any flossing, where you look at your hand and then you look away, and you look at your hand and you look away. If you could see that, what happens in actual ultrasound to the nerve actually moves through the tissue whenever you do that. If you got a nerve in your hand, you got a nerve in your neck that's coming out of your head. When you do that move like that, and you come back and you do that move like that, that nerve actually moves back and forth through the tissue. And sometimes, if you hit that nerve or you hit that tissue, it can create some swelling at the area, and that swelling might cause a spot weld on that nerve where it actually sticks to the tissue, and now it's not moving fluid through there, and that could cause disruption in the way that the energy flows through that nerve. I'm just trying to use that as an example to say, Jason, when you say, what do you mean by I'm not able to rest or recover? I'm not saying you can't sleep tonight. What I'm trying to say is your parasympathetic nervous system is getting degenerative. Or when it gets all the way down there to the end organ, maybe that little snap is getting worn out. Maybe that snap is loose. Maybe that snap is not snapped down tight. And now the nerve is not quite attached to the level it should be to the organ. That now, whenever my brain is in a known world, it's in a non-threatened world, it's in a position to where I should be able to get my heart rate to come down. I should be able to get my blood pressure to come down without any issues at all. I can't do it any longer because of the degeneration of the pathway of parasympathetic activity. There's no threat in my environment, but inside my body, I can't make it calm itself down. Ooh. So how do I get through my day? I fight sympathetically. I have a +1. I have a +1 of sympathetics because I'm fighting my way through the day. I'm not resting my way through the day. I'm fighting my way through the day. I'm using up all of my energy to be in this fight or flight response. Fight or flight response. I'm using up all that energy in that fight or flight response to get me to get through the day. And now, what happens next is my sympathetic nervous system quits firing. That it loses its ability to fire, and it's going to move me out of this second quadrant and it's going to decrease. Sympathetics are going to go from positive to negative. So my chart is going to move downward. I'm going to move downward, and now look what happens when I get in this quadrant over here. I'm on the far left side of the line, and I'm down there in that far bottom left quadrant. Well, if I get into that bottom left quadrant, now I've lost my ability to rest and recover, and I've lost my ability to fight throughout my day. And that's where I'm going to get disease or sickness. Dr. Chestnut explained to us very well the 5 stages of of the stress response. Remember? Alarm, adapt, or to try to adapt, fatigue, sickness, death. The 5 stages of the stress response. The heart rate variability study that we do as part of our nutrition program. Now think about that for a second. Think about that. The heart rate variability study that we do as part of the nutrition program. The heart rate variability of your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, the relationship between your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system as part of your nutritional program. Yes, it's that important because your nervous system is going to decide what's on your plate. And when that drops down there and we use this to go through this alarm phase, what does this mean? There was an alarm somewhere. Where was it? It was back when we were over here in quadrant 1 on the top right-hand corner of the plus sign. For you guys that are on the radio, we were over here at one point. We started in quadrant 1. Then we had an alarm. And that alarm was something that was incongruent with health. I was walking around this morning after we had our 8 o'clock workout class. And one of my 80-year-olds that's in that class was telling me about how they just got finished harvesting their potatoes. And he just planted black-eyed peas. And it's only been 4 days, and that little black-eyed pea stalk or whatever has already broken the ground. It's already popped up out of the dirt in 4 days. And I was like, how long you had those seeds? He said, I had them for a while. And I said, where you been keeping them? And he's like, I just keep them in the little sack, the little container. Keep them in the house or whatever. He didn't know what I was talking about, but I was like, how does that happen? How does the seed in the container, in the house, not grow a plant? Why doesn't the black-eyed pea seed that's in the little bag that's in the kitchen, that we're leaving in the kitchen, how come we don't walk in the kitchen 4 days from now and see a whole bunch of little sprouts popping up out of that bag? Well, because that's not the proper environment for the seed. The seed will sit in that bag for the next 50 years probably and not do anything, because that seed has an innate intelligence, and that seed is just going to sit there inside that bag. But as soon as you put that seed inside that little pot of dirt and put some water on it, in 4 days, that seed starts to grow a plant. How does it do that? Because it has an innate intelligence that knows if you put that seed in an environment that's congruent with its innate intelligence and you give it a little protection, it will create a black-eyed pea plant. If you're over here in quadrant 1 and you start to put yourself in an environment that's incongruent with health, you put yourself in an environment that's incongruent with health. What do you mean by that? Well, you start drinking sodas. You start drinking sodas and eating refined carbohydrates. You start getting stressed out every single day. The first thing that's going to happen before you move from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, the very first thing that's going to happen is you're going to feel that alarm. There's going to be an alarm. Hey, that's not good for us. What are you doing? Why are you drinking Pepsi? Like, what are you doing? That's not going to work. Like, the body's, that 99.4% unknown subconscious is like, dude, what is this? Where did this come from? Why is this inside of us? How in the heck did this get inside of us? Where on the planet is there a stream of Pepsi? Where on the planet is there some sort of like well that's just gushing up soda somewhere? Nowhere on the planet, nowhere ever in the history of the planet, nowhere in the existence of our innate intelligence does that exist. So that 99.4% subconscious is looking at that toxic threat and it's setting off the alarm. And it's telling us, dude, you got to try to adapt. How are you going to adapt to that? How are you going to adapt to that? Okay, crap, I don't know. What are we going to do? We better shut something off. We better turn something on. We better try to make a new enzyme. We better try to do something. Like, okay, wait, we got to regulate blood sugar. We got to try to somehow, what are we doing with phosphorus? Why is phosphorus in here? Why do we have so much of this phosphorus? What's it competing with calcium for? Are we getting enough calcium in our gut? Because is our vitamin D level even proper enough to get enough calcium to, nope. We don't have enough vitamin D, so we're not getting enough calcium. And because we're not getting enough calcium, we're not being able to compete with the phosphorus. And so now the bone is absorbing the phosphorus. And then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, what is this? Now we've got osteoporosis. We've got an abnormal bone structure. And it's like the body, that unknown stuff that's going on underneath all that is trying to figure all that stuff out. It's trying to figure out what's going on with us. And then it's trying to adapt. And it can't adapt. It can't adapt because it's not congruent with it. Ask that black-eyed pea to just pour, instead of pouring, try this. You guys at home, try this. Tonight in your garden, you guys probably got some gardens going on. Tonight in your garden, instead of watering your flowers, or just pick out one, just pick out an okra plant or a black-eyed pea plant, because you probably got one in your garden. You probably got some okra growing in your garden right now. Go out there, instead of watering that particular okra plant, just pour gasoline over the top of it. Pour as if you were going to water it, but don't water it. Just pour gasoline over the top of it. And then tomorrow morning, send me a picture at 806-794-0400. Send me a picture of that okra plant. What are we going to get? A shrunken, wilted up okra plant. Why? Because it can't adapt. It's impossible to adapt. Now, pour muddy water on it. Pour muddy water on it instead of that clean water that's coming out of the hose. Just go down to the end of your street where you and just grab some muddy water and pour it on there. I bet you tomorrow we still got a plant. I bet you it doesn't kill the plant. The muddy water probably doesn't kill the plant. It's going to adapt. That plant's going to have the ability to adapt to some muddy water, but that plant's going to have absolutely no ability to adapt to gasoline. Why? Because inside the DNA of the plant, inside the structure, the innate intelligence of the plant, it doesn't have any ability to adapt to something that's incongruent with itself. When we put our body, and we're over here in quadrant one, where we got just a little bit of parasympathetic and a little bit of sympathetic, and we're rocking life, and all of a sudden we put ourselves in an environment that's incongruent with health, that we can no longer adapt to. What is the next thing on the list? Fatigue. What's another way of saying fatigue? Inability to rest and recover. What does it do to us? It moves us into quadrant 2. It moves us into quadrant 2 over here, where the only way we can make it through the day is if we fight our way through the day. That 99.4% of unknown nervous system function is like, dude, just hang on and fight. Just fight. Figure it out. Just fight. Come on, man. Just don't give up. Don't give up. Just fight your way through. Just adrenal glands. Just come on, brother. Just pump. Increase the blood pressure in this dadgum thing. Increase the blood pressure. Increase the heart rate. Like, hey, dude, don't worry about digesting food. Who cares about that, dude? We got to get through the day. We got to fight our way through the day. And then look over here at the medications that this person ends up taking. What are they taking? They're taking 2 blood pressure medications. Why? What's going on with them? Why are they taking 2 blood pressure medications? They put themselves in an environment that's incongruent with health. They've lost their ability to rest and recover, which means they're in a state of fatigue. What's going to happen next? They're going to lose the ability to fight through the day. They're going to lose the ability to fight. It's like, oh, sheesh. Adrenal glands. All right, never mind. Like, never mind. I can't. Whatever. Like, I don't care. Food, no food. It doesn't make any difference. Suck whatever you want to. Like, get some nutrients out of it. I don't care. Like, whatever. Right? There we go. Now what happens? Now we've just moved ourselves from quadrant 2 to quadrant 3, and here comes sickness and death. Here comes chronic disease. And what do we say on Monday night? A sedentary lifestyle shortens the introduction of, it lowers the introduction age of chronic disease. Why? A sedentary lifestyle puts us in this whole thing. A sedentary lifestyle is the inability to adapt because it's incongruent with our health. It makes us tired, and then we get down here in sickness and disease. So what are we going to do to help this person? Right? Should I go with them to their medical doctor's office and see if I can get them one more medication? Like, hey, you guys have tried 2 blood pressure medications. Let's try 3. What if we got 3 blood pressure medications, and let's just throw in another anxiety medication on top of the one anxiety medication that we already have, right? I think that's a good idea. Like, I'm sure the cardiologist is going to participate in this whole process. He's going to throw something in on top of all that. And we got to get, because, I mean, it's like, or we can get back to the fundamentals. We can get back to the fundamentals of eat well, move well, and think well. We can go back to the 5 essentials of health: food, water, oxygen, rest, nerve energy. We could go back and we can look at some fundamental things. And I guarantee you, this patient has a better chance of increasing their health and restoring their health in the green section of fundamentals than they do in the blue section of pharmacology. They're going to have a better chance of making their life better if they will go back to the fundamentals of health versus staying over here. You're never going to find it. As long as you've got your body in an environment that's incongruent with health, you're never going to find health. It don't matter. You'll never find it. And on top of that, you will find your chronic disease. You'll find your gout. You'll find your acid reflux. You'll find your type 2 diabetes. You'll find it all. And it's not really that complicated. It's super simple. The whole thing is going to all transition back. It's going to transition back to you think I'm crazy. You think I'm crazy because I'm all about this. I'm all about this up and to the right and over to the left. I'm telling you, how do you get that? How do you get that to happen? Like that whole thing right there. That's my signature right there. Up and to the right, over to the left. Get out of that right brain. How do you do it? Get on your feet. Get on your feet and move. Get on your feet and start walking and get yourself moving. If you can't walk, come to the rock. We'll put you on the Alter-G and you can walk. If I can take patients out of a wheelchair, put them in the Alter-G so they can walk, I can get you to walk. Come walk. Decrease your refined carbohydrates. Increase your fish oil. Do those things and watch yourself increase your health. Man, I know that's a lot of stuff on there. I appreciate you listening. We're out of time. This is another show. I appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you guys again tomorrow night at 6 with Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. You guys have a great night.